Under no circumstance is this a healthy activity, and with peace and love, you have to stop.
I got a glitch.
Hello everyone and welcome back. It's Ash, your truth-bombing fairy godmother for everything love, dating, and relationships. Today's video is one that I have avoided doing, but yet is probably something I get the most questions and comments about, which is the topic of looking at, checking up on, or even outright stalking an ex on social media. And the reason I have avoided covering this, despite it being something that I know so many of us desperately struggle with, is because I wasn't sure how to make a video about looking at an ex's social media profile without coming across as really blunt. But here we are, it's time, and we're gonna talk about it. But before we do, if you think you could benefit from new love, dating, relationship, or even just more general life advice or personal development videos every single week, then I would love it if you considered subscribing to my channel by tapping that button below. Okay, so you can't stop looking at your ex's social media profile. Before I get into what I think you should do here, I want to ask you to do a little bit of introspection and self-reflection. I want you to ask yourself what your goal is, or what is motivating you to keep looking at your ex's social media profiles. On the surface, it's very likely things like just a curiosity to see what they're doing, or who they're with, or who they're communicating to. But underneath that, there's very likely some additional things going on as well. And if you're not sure right now what those things are, I want you to become more mindful and pause and look inwards every single time you go and look at your ex's social media profile, or every time you attempt to monitor their activity by checking to see whether or not they're still viewing your stories or whatever else. Just pause and really bring your focus inwards and ask yourself what it is you are grasping for, or what it is that you are needing in that moment. It might be things like validation that your ex is miserable and unhappy without you, therefore reassuring you that you are still meaningful. Or on the flip side, if you know that your ex has moved on with someone else, I actually see intentionally exposing yourself to images of that as a form of self-harm. You know that seeing your ex with someone else is going to hurt and trigger you, so why are you intentionally punishing yourself? That's something really important to bring your awareness and compassion to. Why do you feel as though you deserve to feel emotional pain that doesn't serve you in any way, shape, or form? And it might just be because pain is what's become familiar for you. And flipping the script on that and realizing that you deserve better than to inflict pain and harm on yourself is a huge game changer when it comes to removing the desire to continue looking at an ex's social media. One of my closest childhood friends and I had a big falling out many years ago now, a long time ago, and we haven't spoken in about 8 or so years. And when we stopped communicating for a few years afterwards, every once in a while I would end up clicking on her social media just to see what she was up to. And without fail, I would feel extremely triggered every single time I saw images of her seemingly doing great and being so happy without our friendship, despite that being something I was still mourning and grieving the loss of. And after a lot of self-love and acceptance over the years, I finally got to a point where I had to ask myself what was more important to me. Knowing what this person, who I will probably never have a relationship with ever again and therefore has zero relevance to my life, is currently doing, or my own emotional well-being and peace. And I picked and continue to pick my emotional peace. I did not deserve to feel the unnecessary distress that seeing her life online caused me, and who knows how that life actually is, considering the fact that social media is almost always an extremely inaccurate portrayal of the truth. What an absolute shame it would be to expend emotional energy feeling upset over something that isn't even reality, but rather a perfectly curated and controlled highlight reel. And since that point many years ago, I have not looked at her social media profile once, and the same goes for my exes. I just don't look. Have I felt the occasional curiosity to see what she's doing or see what an ex is up to? Of course I have, and that's totally normal. But again, my peace is more important to me, and that's what I know I deserve, and therefore that's what I choose for myself. What an ex or an old friend is doing is none of my business. And if I feel the need to look at someone's social media profile as a way to feel more secure, or if I need to see how much better or worse my life has ended up compared to theirs, then that is a symptom of a deeper insecurity that needs my attention, something that social media lurking is absolutely not going to solve. And although what I've just described isn't exactly the same as going through a much fresher breakup where you're still navigating what your lives look like without one another, which I can understand would make the whole social media thing a lot stickier and more confusing, especially if you have a lot of mutual friends, a lot of it is still applicable. I don't care if you broke up 1 week ago or 1 year ago. If it's causing you pain to look at their social media profiles, then it's not good for you. Under no circumstance is this a healthy activity, and with peace and love, you have to stop. And if you can't seem to stop, or if checking up on their profiles is something that has become really compulsive or something that you are doing really regularly, then this has very likely become a type of addiction. Mind you, I am not a professional and therefore certainly not qualified to label something as an addictive behavior or not. So take what I'm saying as purely my opinion only. But my opinion is that this has become much more than just a bad habit if it is actually interfering with your healthy functioning, which I imagine it would be if it's something that you're doing every single day or perhaps even multiple times a day. So if this sounds like what's going on for you, you need to treat this like any other addict would their own addiction. An alcoholic probably can't have bottles of alcohol in the house. A gambling addict probably can't have a pokey machine in their house. If you cannot control yourself in relation to looking at your ex's social media, you need to, at least for right now, completely remove the temptation. And this will look different for everyone. This can include removing social media apps from your phone for a while. This can include actually temporarily or permanently deleting your social media profiles and just going on a full detox. This can include installing certain apps that either limit or prevent social media use. This can include muting or blocking your ex as well as all of your mutual friends so that you no longer see them. This can include reaching out to your ex and actually asking them to be the ones to block you. Whatever it is, you have to decide what is necessary for you and be the one to make that call. But you cannot continue to rely on your own self-control if checking your ex's page has become an irresistible impulse. And let me make it abundantly clear that there is absolutely no shame in doing any of these things. I feel like this is another reason that people don't just go offline or block their exes, is because their egos convince them that doing so means that their exes have won, or that they should be able to handle seeing their ex's social media profiles, or perhaps it's their way of testing themselves to see how over it they are, to see if seeing certain things still causes an emotional reaction. Newsflash, it will. No matter how over your ex you may or may not be, there's something about seeing them move on and find happiness without you that can just f***ing suck. It sucked yesterday, it sucks today, and it's going to suck tomorrow. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you a normal, healthy, functional human who is mourning the loss of someone that they loved or really cared about. So please stop testing yourself. It's totally uncalled for, and it's not an accurate measure of your healing progress anyway. Once you've done your best to remove the temptations, you then want to replace the activity of using social media to spy on your ex with something else that helps you draw your energy and attention inwards. This can be activities like simply texting or calling a friend or family member that you trust. It can be doing a little meditation where you just remind yourself that you're safe and okay. This can be writing all your anxieties out on paper and just getting everything out. It can be listening to music or moving your body. It can be going on a walk or exercising. It can be anything that allows you to stay present and reground yourself. And back to what I noted at the start of this video about being aware of why it is you feel the need to look at your ex's social media, such as looking for validation that you're meaningful or haven't been forgotten about. Hold space for that and whatever it is that you choose to do to redirect your energy. Remind yourself that your ex's online activity or their activity in general has absolutely nothing to do with you or your value. But the main message of this video is that you gotta stop. You are postponing true healing by continuing to engage in this behavior. There is absolutely no benefit or reason to continue to look at your ex's social media profile. Even if you're still friends or on good terms with one another, if seeing their social media profiles causes you distress or is triggering for you, unfollow, unfriend, mute, or block them. If needed, let your ex know that it is absolutely nothing personal, but for your own mental health and well-being and your desire and need to move on, you're going to need to unfriend or block them or request that they block you instead. And if this person is an actual friend to you, they will understand and respect that. And if not, well then I guess the trash took itself out. Okay everyone, I hope this was the dose of tough love that perhaps you needed. As you can tell, this is something that is just very cut and dry for me. And as difficult as it is to cut off that social media connection to your ex, what I think would be way more difficult is still feeling like months or perhaps even years down the road because of your own unwillingness to put the necessary boundaries in place in order for you to move on. Because as long as you are continuing to lurk or continuing to allow yourself to lurk, you are choosing pain over peace. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I love you all so very much. I hope I wasn't too hard on you, and I will see you all next week.
Tell me what was in that stuff you gave me. I think I like it. In fact, it made me high.